Good day to all of you out there. Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, your host, and you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as on facebook.com/onenewsph, and on YouTube, just put in One News PH. Today is October 19, 2020, and it's the beginning of a hopeful week. Today is a Monday, and when I say a hopeful week, I refer to the fact that a lot of things seem to be opening up. Okay, there you go. All rail lines hike capacity today, and then of course we're going to discuss this pronouncement from Malacanang allowing people 15 years old to 65 years old to outside of residences. And then, of course, there's a transition now. Many cities, areas are allowing people from a mixed quarantine level to visit. Like, let's say Manila is in GCQ, but the other areas, like maybe Tagaytay, I think, is in MGCQ. Dati po, bawal. It was a few weeks ago, or as early as last week, they were saying, oh, well, you can't travel to Tagaytay because of GCQ to MGCQ. That seems to have changed, and many places in the country are allowing travel. Of course, the usual health protocols, and wag po ninyong masamahin yun. Don't make an issue of it because it is vital. I've always said in the program, my family, or at least my wife and my daughter, are in the Netherlands, in Europe, and ayun po, they are going through the second wave, and it's not a pretty situation. Akala nung umalis sila, tayo yung malala yung sitwasyon. Ngayon, tayo yung umiigis. Sila naman yung namumroblema doon because now a lot of restaurants, bars, cafes, etc. in Holland or the Netherlands, for those of you who are younger, are shut down. And it's not just in the Netherlands, it's in France, it's in many parts of Europe, etc. So nagkaka-second wave doon. And largely because we put our guards down. In any case, today we will talk about all of this because our guest for today first will be Undersecretary Epimaco Densing III of the Department of Interior and Local Government to help us understand what is the situation, GCQ? Are we really going to transition now to MGCQ? What are the policies and protocols surrounding the 15 to 65 movement, and many more? Then he will be followed by another regular on the show, Undersecretary Ireneo Boy Vizmonte, suki natin, isa pa nating professor on the air. And we will ask Undersecretary Vizmonte regarding the decision or the announcement of the DTI that now allows the malls, kasi ano na po, patapos na. Medyo ina-advance ko, no? Patapos na yung October, and technically, beginning of October, all the malls and commercial establishments are doing promos, campaigns, sale, etc. And that's what the DTI said. Pwede na ulit. Tingnan natin and how we are going to tackle that. And a very interesting interview we will have this morning. We hope to connect all the way from Singapore, Maulik Parekh, author of Futureproof Your Career and Company. He wrote a book about hindi naman waterproofing, hindi bulletproofing, but future-proofing. Because when he wrote the book, he was more focused on artificial intelligence, digitalization, etc. Pero biglang tinamaan tayo ng COVID-19. So how do you future-proof your career and your future against COVID-19 and the effects of the COVID-19 creating an economic pandemic? So we hope to have Parekh, Mr. Parekh, Maulik Parekh, here on Agenda. In the meantime, let's go to the main stories on the front page of the Philippine Star. And here we go. All rail lines, mga tren, all rail lines, MRT, LRT, etc., PNR in the country are increasing their capacity today to serve more commuters. The MRT-3, LRT Line 1, LRT Line 2, and the Philippine National Railways will now run at 30% passenger capacity, while distancing is set at 1 seat apart. According to the Transportation Department, capacities will gradually expand to 50% very soon. This expansion of train passenger capacities is part of the government's effort to aid economic recovery. Malacanang will ask the country's economic managers on how it can subsidize the 13th month pay of employees in distressed micro, small, and medium enterprises. Malacanang said it wants to give out the subsidy, but they have to confer with the budget and finance departments first. Government has taken a stance last week that companies cannot defer the release of the 13-month pay to its employees. And last on the news, almost half of Filipinos find the government's aid to the jobless as inadequate, says the latest survey of the Social Weather Station, or SWS. The mobile phone survey was taken from September 17 to 20 and showed that 46% of the respondents deemed the government efforts as inadequate in ensuring provision for those who lost jobs. 44% believed it was adequate, while 9% were undecided. Around 3 million Filipinos have lost their jobs in this pandemic, according to the Labor Department. Okay, just a short commentary on that last piece of news. More than anything, it should now teach us or make us realize that we need a program like the one being pushed by Congresswoman Stella Kimbo, who was pushing for unemployment insurance. Kumbaga, bahagi, a portion of our salaries would go into unemployment insurance. No, we don't want a welfare state. No, we don't want paying people for not working. But in times of such pandemics, we need something to lean on. First lesson. Second lesson, we now should appreciate the importance of paying our taxes. Because marami po, well, you know, if you're an employee, you're caught. You know, you have no choice because you're paying 10% withholding tax and income tax. But by and large, we need to put value or appreciate the importance of taxes because that's where we're going to get the money. And unlike now, medyo tayo nagkakamot na sa swelo. Sabi nga nila, we are scratching the bottom of the barrel or scraping the bottom of the barrel just to cover the needs for all of this, okay? And third, if you are a business person, if you are a CEO, an executive, whether ikaw ay meron ka lang food service o meron kang conglomerate, it is something to consider. Kasi alam niyo po, last year, everybody was talking about expansion here, expansion there, billion peso year-to-year profit, etc. But no one seemed to have thought of the lesson saving for a rainy day. And now, when the pandemic hit, medyo we are kind of realizing, oh shucks, we should have saved money instead of putting all that money to expansion. I know of some people who built condos, who built office buildings. Ayun, nilalangaw po. Ang nakatira, bubuyog at saka bubuyog, bubuli at butiki. Okay. Anyway, let's go to our program today. Our first interview. He is the Undersecretary for Operations of the Department of Interior and Local Government, a COVID survivor. Okay, a COVID survivor after testing positive early July, and I think he would be the first to tell all of you, and ako po, uulit-ulitin ko rito sa program, if some people don't want to do it, we will. Wear your mask, socially distance, wear your face shield, and kung hindi mo kailangang umalis ng bahay, huwag kang lumabas ng bahay. Okay, let's welcome in Undersecretary Epimaco Densing III. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, Cito, and to the rest of your followers of the program. Good morning.
Bilib ako sa iyo, sir. Na-COVID ka, gumwapo ka.
Pero mahirap yun. I wouldn't suggest or even recommend that you get COVID just para lang gumwapo.
But I noticed you apparently lost weight because I think that is something that is now being promoted by many health practitioners. In fact, yung iba nga talagang in your face sinasabihan tayo, if you want to increase your chances of surviving COVID, better lose 10 to 20 pounds kung medyo tayong, alam mo na, tayong medyo matipuno at malusog.
Yung mga obese, tinatamaan na, yun ang bumibigay yung mga obese.
Okay, sige. Ngayon, Yusek Densing, let's get on with the questions for the day. I guess the first concern on the head or in the minds of people is the announcement from Malacanang and the national government that we are now allowing people who are 15 years of age to 65 years of age outside of residences. Ang mga tanong, kailangan pa ba ng travel permit? Kailangan pa ba ng barangay permit? At saka 15 to 65 ba talaga? Or is it 15 to 68 or 18 to 65? Kasi may pronouncement yung mga ibang mayor na hindi, wag nang papayagan yung 15 sa 18 lang. Please clarify.
No, the official stance of the IATF is 15 to 65, no? And we talked about this issue of age primarily because not only for more market, for the economics and businesses to open, but it's also more of the mental health issue. So
yes,
tinignan namin ito in two ways. No? One is we're trying to open the economy. We need more people to buy products and services. And tinignan scientifically, mukhang hindi naman talaga makakahawa ang 15 to 65. And more importantly, yun nga, it's the mental health issue. Merong diniscuss yan sa technical working group before it was presented to the IATF. So the new policy is 15 to 65. But there are mayors who are making the opinion they do not want that age bracket to be implemented, but it's already a given. This was decided only last Thursday and already published in the official gazette. So it's already being implemented right now. Wala nang travel pass, wala nang quarantine pass.
Okay, well that's good kasi I personally felt na baka gagamitin lang ng ibang mayor na dahilan yung quarantine para hindi na nila pinoproblema yung movement ng tao nila instead of actually doing their job in terms of security, monitoring, etc. But all of that is water under the bridge because you've clarified that as officially 15 to 65. Ngayon, yung travel pass, quarantine pass, kasi may mga magulang na nagsasabi, Cito, baka na naman pumunta kami sa isang restaurant o pumunta kami from Manila to Tagaytay, NCR to the Region 4 area, etc. Baka naman harangin na naman kami at pauwiin kami. Ano ba yung policy regarding this, Yusek Densing?
Okay, part of the amendments of the omnibus guidelines for the implementation of community quarantine is really relaxing also the inter-travel or interzonal and intrazonal. Okay, yung interzonal is kung GCQ to MGCQ or other community quarantine. Yung intrazonal naman is within the province of course, the same community quarantine. So kung MGCQ, MGCQ na. So sa interzonal, okay, pinapayagan na ho yung MGCQ or GCQ to MGCQ and vice versa, GCQ to GCQ, nang walang travel pass. However, nagkaroon lang ng konting exception dyan, Cito, no? Nilagay ng extra provision dyan as long as the local government unit has a reasonable regulation. So halimbawa, si local government unit under MGCQ, naglagay siya ng rule na pag galing kang GCQ, medyo meron kang additional health protocol. Okay? So, pero hindi naman lahat ng LGU merong additional regulation. So, in the absence of a regulation from the LGU, you can already make that movement from GCQ to MGCQ without need of a travel pass. Much more kung intrazonal. So pwede ka nang more or less gumala if you're between 50 to 65, pwede ka nang umikot within the province or within the locality. Metro Manila is considered one province.
Yeah.
So now without or there's no need already for a travel pass. Makakagaan din to sa ating mga kapulisan because at the end of the day, they will not be burdened anymore for people to go to the police station just to get a travel pass. So makakagaan din sa ating mga pulisan and they can focus their attention more on peace and order rather than issuing travel passes.
Good thing that you mentioned that, Undersecretary, because I know that there's another like 36 or 38 more police officers who were contaminated or infected with COVID-19 on the job. So what is the situation for our police? I don't know if you have the data, and if you don't, it's perfectly understandable. But what is the situation for our police officers? How are they all doing as far as COVID prevention or mitigation is concerned?
Well, the directive of our PNP personnel is really making sure that they follow the minimum public health protocols, no, wearing of face masks, sanitation, social distancing, and the face shield, no. Ako, gut feel, it's the face shield that has improved the situation. In fact, the last 2 weeks, no, in Metro Manila alone, we've been averaging already less than 1,000 cases. Before, it used to be around 2,000 to 2,500 a day. Ngayon, meron ng 500, 600, 700. And our infection rate, no, overall is already down less than 10%. Before, it used to be more than 10%. So there's a great improvement, and my gut feel says it's the face shield. So sa ating mga kapulisan, meron kasi mga pulis na nakikita din natin sa police station, hindi rin sumusunod sa minimum public health standards. So we're suggesting that our police personnel, when they're out of the office or when they are engaging the public, should be following the minimum health protocol.
Yusek Densing, thank you for mentioning that, yung sa NCR, no? And may I suggest kung nakipag-meeting kayo sa IATF, kasi pag binabasa mo yung sa announcement ng DOH, nakalagay lang yung total of new cases. It doesn't differentiate between NCR and the rest of the Philippines. And ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng pagdududa ang tao eh. It's a misunderstanding of data. When you see the total number, like for instance today, it says new cases, 2,379, naiisip mo lagi, nasa Metro Manila. Kasi yun naman talaga historically, that perhaps we should now have an additional bar na for NCR, ito yung numbers. Kasi pag sinasabi ng Malacanang, palabasin na natin yung mga bata, palabasin na natin yung mga matatanda, pero lalabas na data, parang pareho pa rin yung numbers. Hindi alam ng mga tao na yung numbers na pinapatunguhan dito ay national number. So parang naku-question tuloy yung desisyon ng gobyerno.
Tama po yan. That's right, Cito. That's why whenever we make pronouncements in interviews, we also mention NCR. Actually, in some cases, binabanggit naman ng DOH ang NCR. Ako, binabantayan ko ang NCR. Because before, when we were hitting 5,000 cases a day, 50 to 60% of those cases are from Metro Manila.
Yeah.
So ngayon, itong last 2 weeks, ang gaganda ng numero, there was 1,590 lang in one day ang tama sa Metro Manila. So the average of
Yeah.
Metro Manila is already less than 1,000.
Siguro
And
tama. Tama
NCR
nga
being
yung
the
ano.
epicenter, no? Importante
Oo.
ho yun.
Oh, kasi tama nga yung desisyon ng cabinet na gastusan at puntiryahin, focus on the education and information because there is so much to be done about the information because today is the first time I heard someone in government say that in the NCR, National Capital Region, Metro Manila, it's only about 800 to 900 cases a day. Lagi kong iniisip, 2005, 3,000, national yung figure na yun. In any case, moving forward, paano na po ba yung pronouncement? Because medyo may mga does it matter to shift Metro Manila from GCQ to MGCQ? Kailangan pa ba since we're actually opening up the borders?
Well, it's still important to make that shift. No, if the numbers will fall into the picture that NCR can be placed under MGCQ, no, it's actually a messaging to everybody that we're doing okay, and also a messaging that we can again aggressively open the economy kasi bagsak muna tayo Sito. Sabi ng Department of Finance yung projections all over the world. Ang Pilipinas is projected to have a negative 8.4% GDP growth by the end of the year. The third worst in the world. So we have to fast track opening our economy. In fact, the directive of the President to the Cabinet is really focus our attention in the economy right now, balancing it with the health standards. No? While the position of many mayors is to maintain Metro Manila under GCQ, para sa akin, if the numbers will fall into the picture and there's a justification to de-escalate Metro Manila, then let's do it. Yun ang aking pananaw. It's actually a messaging to our to the public sector that we are doing okay and we are able to contain the virus in NCR. Sito, tandaan po natin, 1/3 of the Philippine economy is in the National Capital Region. Another 1/3 is in Region 4 and Region 3. Pag hindi natin naiayos itong tatlong region na ito, hindi ho talaga uusog yung ekonomiya natin. And remember, we are a consumption-based economy. 75% of our economy is consumption-based. So kung hindi gumagastos ang tao, hindi makalabas, hindi ho gagalaw yung ating ekonomiya.
Okay. What will the DILG do about this situation? Kasi ang analysis ko, and please, if I'm just being a citizen na nagsasalita, no? Ang analysis ko dito is kasi parang nakasanayan na. Our local government officials have gotten used to controlling COVID-19 situation by controlling population. Meaning, you stay home, we have no COVID cases. Parang ganun. And in fact, some critics have already said, naging state of fear na tayo. Hindi na tayo naging proactive or fighting COVID-19. Now, I fully support what you are saying. I fully support what the government is saying, that we need to send people out. We need to go out and be more productive and revive our ailing economy. Pero what can DILG or what will DILG do to put these mayors to follow the system? Kasi may science naman eh. Kanya lang, ang sasabihin nila, hindi, wag na, dito na lang tayo sa GCQ para hindi lumaki. Parang ang analysis ko lang, they should now spend more time looking at the implementation of health protocols in their areas of concern. Hindi yung implementation of quarantine. Puro kayo po, hindi kayo, puro sila quarantine, tapos hindi naman nila tinututukan yung face mask, face shield, etc.
I agree with your perspective, Zito, no? Because this is a personal experience being the chair of the Screening and Validation Committee of the IITF. Ito yung nagka-classify ng community quarantine, no? May mga mayor na pag inanalyze namin yung kanilang LGU, MGCQ sila. Pero gusto nila maging MECQ, and sa aking personal perspective, sabi ko, kasalanan mo lang na mayor yan kasi hindi mo ma-manage ng tama yung health protocols ng bayan mo. Tapos ngayon gagamitin mo ang pag-upgrade ng community quarantine mo para lang magawa niya yung gusto niya. So it's a failure of a local chief executive, no? And it's disadvantageous to the people. Kasi pag nag-MECQ ka, no public transport yan. So hindi talaga makakagalaw yung tao. That's why one experience we had is nung nagpa-MCCQ siya, tapos ginrant namin, then he found out hindi pala siya pwede mag-public transport, nag-request kagad siya, ibalik siya sa GCQ. So,
Ayun ang problema.
that really happens. No? So,
But
ang maganda nito, yung mga mayor, open na sa ganyan. And what we're trying to do right now is really monitor them and kinukulit lang namin yung minimum health standards. If we do that, we can go a long way. And at least in the NCR, nakikita na ho namin, even just going out of the house, nag-face shield na kahit hindi pa pumapasok sa mall. So that tells something about NCR. And
Alam mo,
hopefully we can also see something also in the other areas in the country.
another suggestion, Yusek Densing, kasi we're spending a fortune trying to hire contact tracers. Pero wala pa akong nadinig na program to hire people who will, parang sheriff ba, o kaya mga marshals, mga health protocol marshals, or requiring malls and commercial areas to have health marshals na iikot. Kasi umiikot ako this weekend, ang dami ko kailangan biling gamit sa construction dito. Aba, lahat kami may face mask, okay. Lahat kami may face shield sa mall, okay. Kanya lang, lahat kami yung face shield nakataas. And then sabi ko nga, paano ba yun? May salamin ako. Kailangan ko bang mag-face shield? Pero yung iba, pag nakapasok na sa loob, tinataas na yung face shield. So sabi ko, baka mas mabuti mag-hire ng mga health protocol marshals instead of contact tracers kasi mas maiiwasan yung contact tracing kung meron tayong mga health marshals. Anyway, just a suggestion, Yusek.
Well, I take note of that. Dalawa kasi yan yung pag-i-impose ng minimum public health standards. One is the business establishment must be very strict about it. When I went up to Tagaytay yesterday, may pinuntahan kami isang lugar doon na restaurant. Hindi talaga kami pinapasok hangga't hindi kumpleto yung minimum public, yung face shield, face mask. Otherwise, you go elsewhere, no? So, hindi ka makakakain. The other one is, we take note of the suggestion. Maybe we'll have some public health standards marshal moving around na manita lamang. And kung nasa malls siya, I would suggest, pag hindi nila ginagamit, palabasin talaga sa malls. And importante kasi yan eh.
Okay. Yusek, tanungin ko lang, because you mentioned Tagaytay, no? Kumain kayo sa restaurant. Napansin mo ba kung 1.5 meter talaga yung distance? Kasi sabi ko doon sa mga kaibigan, uupo tayo sa restaurant, tapat-tapat naman tayo, wala pang 1 meter yung separation natin. Dapat, di ba, alternating, walang tapat-tapat, no one is in front of each other.
So far, yung napuntahan ko, they were very strict about it. So, halimbawa, sa isang lamesa, maximum of 4 lang. Also considering the physical distancing, nasusunod lahat. Otherwise, sinisita nila eh. Maski yung yung araw-araw, yung pa-exit or papasok. Pag if you go the other way, sisitahin ka ng tao doon, sir, dito po yung dito po yung exit, ito. Follow the arrow. Kasi sa ibang lugar, kahit may arrow, hindi sinusunod, pinapabayaan din ng business establishment. Ito sa napuntahan ko sa Tagaytay, they were very, very strict about it, no? Pati sa palengke, ganoon din.
Yeah, people don't realize that, no? And that's why talaga tama yung cabinet members na need education and information. Kasi yung exit entrance, many people don't understand yung sinasabi mo, Yusek, na pag nagsasalubong, pwedeng magkahawahan. And that's why there should be a separate entrance and a separate exit. Ayun.
Correct. That's why discipline is very critical. That's why if you were to ask me and give recognition to why we are improving in our numbers in terms of infected cases, ang papalakpakan ko yung taong bayan. At least itong the last 2 weeks because we really saw the difference in terms of people going out talagang, and they only go out when there's a need to, no? So kung dahil nag-improve yung numbers natin, we're still not out of the problem because there's no actual solution yet. But the fact that we have contained the virus as of the last 2 weeks, kudos sa taong bayan for being disciplined at least by
Mhm.
this time, no, since 2 weeks ago.
Okay, last question. What about yung Christmas? Oops, nawala yan. Ayun, okay. Last question, Yusek. What about yung mga Christmas traditions like simbang gabi, midnight mass, etc.? I know it's primarily a church thing, but you guys will be making the decision on that.
Yeah. The discussions right now, Sito, is ongoing. It's 2 months away, but we're already talking about it. Maganda
Mm.
ito. We try to anticipate and do the programs, protocols, and agree on it way ahead of it happening. Just like itong dadating na undas, we decided to close the cemeteries. The decision of it was made 2 months ago. So alam na kagad natin yung gagawin before ito dumating. Ganun din, we're already the discussions on the upcoming Christmas season is the discussions are ongoing, and hopefully in 1 or 2 weeks we can already make some pronouncement on what will happen in terms of health protocols by December or by Christmas season, so that everybody can be prepared already ahead of time.
Okay, so quick review. 15 to 65 allowed outside of residence. No need for quarantine pass. No need for travel pass. There are some LGUs who still require certain quarantine protocols. They have a right to do that.
Yes, yes. They
Okay,
are
and
allowed to
then
do that.
okay, and then of course yung mga plano for Christmas pinag-uusapan pa lang. Okay.
Ongoing.
Thank you very much, Yusek Densing. As usual, you are a reliable source for government information, and sana po yung mga suggestion namin makarry rin sa IATF para mabawasan yung ating sakit ng ulo. Thank you very much, Yusek.
Yes, definitely. And yung suggestions ko kanina will open it to the mayors so that they can implement it directly to their respective local government units. So thank you very much, Cito, and good morning.
Okay, yan po si Undersecretary Epimaco Densing the third. The third siya, di ba? Alam ko the third. Pareho kaming the third. Okay, pag sinabing the third, yung mga magulang namin, kung ano yung pangalan ng tatay, yun din yung pangalan ng lolo. So, the third. In any case, that's a good point. Good discussion with Yusek Densing because alam niyo po, yun ang napansin ko sa mga pag-ikot ko, halos lahat naman tayo. I think I've not seen anyone who wasn't wearing a face mask. But when it came to the face shield, nakaangat ang mga face shield including me. Kasi sa akin naman, ang problema ko, yung salamin ko, hindi ko naman mabasa yung binibili ko. So I have to put it up. But pag medyo may lumalapit na tao, binababa ko na dahil baka mamaya may sakit nga yun. So malaking bagay po yung face shield according to Yusek Densing, no? The other point I just want to mention, which Doc Tony Lechon mentioned last Friday, yung social distancing ba? Kasi kung isang pamilya kayo, if you belong to one household and you've been living together, traveling together, I mean, what are the chances, okay? Unless one of you are just going in and out and could be infected. But if you're just one group, then one table, fine. But if you're barkada, if you're in a business meeting, ako po, I tell my friends, no offense, pero lalayuan kita, lilihis ako. Diyan ka, even here in the house or in our place in Lipa. Pag may bisita, kung nandito ako sa kaliwa, dun ka sa kanan ko and 1 meter apart. Para kahit maubo ka or whatever, hindi direct hit ang aabutin ko. And that's what we really need. Kasi alam niyo po, yung contact tracers, I'm all for having contact tracers, but we should have health marshals. All establishments should have health marshals. Yung umiikot lang. Yun lang ang trabaho. Kasi, hello, may security guard na. Dami nagkukuha ng security guard. Kung yung security guard ba umiikot, di mas maigi, di ba? Makikita niya kung meron nagpipickpocket o kaya meron mga nagnanakaw. But makikita rin niya kung umiikot siya, meron bang walang face mask o binababa yung face mask, etc. So if we have these health marshals or wag na marshal, sabihin na lang natin health angels, di ba? Health Angels, sir, please put on your face shield. Sir, yung inyong ating pong face mask. Sir, social distancing po. Para po sa ikabubuti ninyo, the social distancing please, etc. Okay, we'll go for a quick break. And when we return, let's speak with Undersecretary Boy Vizmonte of the Department of Trade and Industry tungkol naman doon sa mga malls. Malaking bagay po yan. Promo at saka tunay ba yung mga sale na yan? Here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as Facebook.com/OneNewsPH and on YouTube, One News PH. Next up, we have Undersecretary Ireneo Boy Vizmonte of the Department of Trade. He heads the department's Management Services Group. It aims to provide support services to all units to properly equip them in the performance of the respective function. Kumbaga, siya yung, ako yung nasa likuran mo, back up kita. Anyway, Yusek Boy Vizmonte, good morning. Are you there, sir?
Magandang umaga po, Sir Cito.
Ikaw naman Yusek, sineser-ser mo pa ako eh. Hindi ka naman kaiba sa akin. Sir, ako mag-ser sa'yo. Ikaw ang may official title. Ako ay official amuyong lang.
Okay. So, magandang umaga po sa ating mga tagapakinig at mga nanonood suki ng Agenda.
Okay, alam mo po niyo mga kaibigan, kanya kami nagkakaganyan ni Yusek Boy kasi yung pamilya na malapit din sa akin, lalo na yung mga pinsan niya, sila Arnel, etc. Anyway, Yusek Boy, malaman lang namin because the pronouncement is out, napapayagan na yung mga malls na magkaroon ng mga promo, mga sale at activities. Pakilinaw lang para magkaintindihan yung mga mall owners and yung mga customers.
Yeah. Kasama po ito, Sito, ng ating pagbubukas talaga ng ekonomiya. No? Ito ay nakita po natin na nakakasabay na po ang ating mga health protocol, ang ating mga health measure. At kailangan rin talagang buksan ng ating ekonomiya, kailangan simulan ng yung mga natigil na business activities. Alam po natin na for quite a while, bukas na po ang mga mall, bukas na yung mga retail store, pero medyo mahina po talaga yung mga foot traffic. Hindi pa rin po ganun bumabalik yung dating lakas o dami ng taong pumupunta sa mall. At dito po, dahil malapit na rin po ang Christmas season, gusto po natin sanang ma-enhance ang consumer spending, at mabumalik ang confidence ng mga consumer. At ito po ay gusto nga natin na mais ng konti ang mga regulation or restriction sa operation ng mall. Kasama na po dyan yung pag muling ibabalik ang mga wifi, ibababa po natin ng konti ang mga temperature, no? At hindi na po tulad dati na ang gusto sana natin dati ang mga kliyente ng mall, 'pag nagawa na nila yung kanilang mga pamimili, et cetera, uwi na sila. This time, gusto natin sana mag-stay muna sila to to eat or to do other things they normally do sa
Mhm.
isang mall. So, kasama na rin po 'yan na gusto natin yung, mga sales promo 'no, sa mga mall in accordance
Okay.
with the sales promo regulation also being, implemented by the Department of Trade and Industry.
Mhm. So papaano yung policy regarding the sales and promo? Kasi alam mo naman Yusek Boy, nung mga before COVID-19, kinatatakutan natin yung mga sale na yun, yung mga midnight madness na yan.
Naka
Kasi sigurado traffic. Ngayon, what will be the policy of the DTI as far as the conduct of sales and promo and yung mga midnight madness sale,
oo.
etc.
Gano'n pa rin, Sito 'no, yung ating inilatag na ng mga health protocol nung mga nakaraan, gano'n pa rin. And in
Mhm.
fact, nire-remind natin yung mga tao ngayon yung meron tayong nilatag na 7 commandments, eh. So,
Okay.
siguro ngayon, marami na nakakaalam niyan. Kasama po 'yan sa pag-iingat na gusto nating ipatupad o makasanayan ng mga publiko 'no.
Okay.
Yung
Do
pong
you na-memorize mo ba yung Seven Commandments? Kasi hindi ko pa na-memorize eh. Baka pwede mong banggitin yung iba.
ito po yung no, face mask, wearing of face mask, wearing of face shield. Naabutan ko kayo ni Yusek Epi kanina eh.
Mm.
And then yung no talking, no eating habang kayo po ay nasa public transport o
Mhm.
sa isang lugar na indoor na hindi niyo naman kailangang kumain o hindi niyo kailangang magkwentuhan. And
Mhm.
yun pong frequent washing, disinfection, ito pong physical distancing, and then yung pong sa mga establishment, yung pong mahalaga yung ventilation. Napatunayan na po talaga yung kahalagahan ng ventilation
Mhm.
dahil ito po yung paraan para maka-escape yung mga virus sa sa mga indoor establishments. And the last one, yung isolation ng mga symptomatic. Kailangan po talagang makilala sila through contact tracing at sila ay ma-isolate.
Mhm.
Ngayon nga po ay sila ay gusto natin na kung pwede, kung wala naman kayong magandang quarantine sa bahay, meaning ang bahay nyo maraming tao, mas maganda po na tayo ay mailagay sa isang isolation area na hindi po talaga kayo magkakaroon ng hawahan. Ano?
Mhm.
Yan
Okay.
po yung 7 commandments.
Okay. So, papayagan na yung mga promo sale. Now, papaano naman, hindi ko natanong kay Yusek Densing ito, yung tungkol sa mga oras ba? Well, DTI, sakop nyo na rin naman
Aha.
yan. Yung opening hours,
Aha.
from what time to what time ba papayagan yung mga restaurant, malls, etc.?
Gusto po sana natin mabalik na 'yun sa dati 'no. So
Mhm.
ngayon gusto natin hanggang 11 or 12. Pero ito kasama po nito yung pakiusap natin sa mga local government units tungkol sa curfew. Kasi
Mhm.
right now kung halimbawa man gusto nating magbukas itong mga establishments na ito sa mas mahabang oras, kailangan na naka-align dun sa curfew regulation ng bawat LGU. At alam ko po ito ay nasa ano yata 10 to 5. Although alam naman po natin, nililinaw po ito, na although merong curfew, yung pong mga tinatawag na APOR ay allowed po sila to go out even after curfew. Kasi
Mhm.
ito po yung mga APOR, ito po yung mga nagtatrabaho. So,
Sabagay sa ngayon naman kung maaga makakapagbukas yung mall, sabihin natin 9, makabukas na yung mall at magsara siya ng 9, malaking oras pa rin
yes.
'yan para sa lahat.
Oo.
Pasok pa rin tayo dun sa curfew.
Yeah, correct. Ang habol po kasi nitong mas mahabang operating hours sa mga mall ay sana yung ma-maximize yung dumami yung trabahador na
Mhm.
nakakapasok. So,
Mhm.
halimbawa 2 shift. Pangalawa, gusto natin din na lumapad yung oras na puwedeng mamili yung mga tao para kasi alam naman natin ang problema po natin ngayon ang kakulangan ng public transport. Kasi
Mhm.
medyo pag nasa jeep tayo, sa ngayon kailangan daw ay 1 seat apart. So,
Mm.
hindi pa rin po gano'n karami yung kayang isakay ng mga public transport natin mula sa bahay papunta sa mga pupuntahan nila. So, yan po yung isang concern.
Okay, paano po yung ako tinatanong ko ito kasi nababasa ko madalas sa dyaryo. Ako hindi naman ako pumupunta sa mga bar, etc. Pero kadalasan kasi nakikita ko yung may nahuli sa bar, na-raid, ganyan. Ano ba ang patakaran? What is the policy regarding bars from opening hours, closing hours, etc.?
Oo. Ang gusto po talaga natin ang bukas ay yung dine-in restaurants, ano? So in
Mhm.
the process or nagse-serve kayo ng dine-in sa mga dine-in restaurants at kailangan yung mag-order ng mga liquor or beverage, pwede naman po 'yon. Ang
Mm.
ayaw po natin yung operation po ng mga bars na talagang purely ino-offer ay mga beverages o alcoholic drinks. So ayaw po natin ng binge drinking kasi kaya po natin sinasabi yan, ang tendency po kasi ay magkwentuhan habang nagiinuman and alam naman po natin natatanggalin nila most likely yung kanilang mga face mask. So,
Mm.
ito po. And of course, at the same time, kadalasan po yung mga bars medyo hindi po gano'n ka-ideal ang ventilation nila. So,
Correct. Oh.
so far ngayon po nasa negative list po 'yan. Ito pong mga bars and mga establishments na purely offering alcoholic drinks.
Yung
Pero
karaoke,
gano'n din
yung favorite mo?
basta po yung ang ina-allow lang po natin yung mga dine-in restaurants, pero kung halimbawang ito po mga resto bar na 'to, they will
Mm.
move towards offering ito lang pong services na dine-in, okey naman po sila. Ang bawal lang
Mhm.
yung halimbawang talagang inuman at yung mga hindi po dapat na binubukas pa up to this time.
At saka yung mga enclosed kasi katulad nung karaoke binibiro lang kita, hindi ko naman ewan ko kung mahilig kang kumanta, Yusek, 'no? Pero kasi yung karaoke, lahat yung mga karaoke na yan puro enclosed talaga,
Yeah.
dinadaan lang sa aircon, baka matuluyan sila. Matanong ko kasi yung aking therapist, gigil na gigil na. Sawang-sawa na raw siyang buhay magsasaka, gusto na niyang makabalik sa Manila para maging therapist. Paano ba ang labanan? Kasi may nakita akong parang pinapayagan na yung parlor, etc. What is the policy regarding beauty parlors, salons, barbers, and especially yung mga massage, mga therapist?
Dito po sa atin ngayon, ang pinapayagan po natin yung pong mga parang massage na ano, halimbawa foot spa, but not the whole body massage. So,
Mm.
yung mga facial massage, pwede na po yan, yung mga kamay, ganyan. Pero yung whole body massage, hindi pa po. Dahil nga po yung doon sa yung contact na between the client and the service provider. So,
Mhm.
pero yun po, yung mga personal care services po natin, nakalagay po yan na pwede na po, pero mababa pa lang po yung operating capacity at this time. But hopefully by November 1, we can increase and we're planning to increase operating capacity of these other personal care services. Alam po
Mhm.
natin na yung mga barbershops and salon, umaandar na po yan na way ahead. Pero
Yeah.
meron pa po kasi mga other personal care services Yung pong serbisyo para sa mga nails o kaya skin.
Oo.
So yan po ay sumunod na rin. Pero at
Mhm.
30% at this point. Pero gusto po natin
Ah.
tumaas po yan up to 70% pagdating po ng November 1.
Ayun, kasi nung nagpagupit ako last week, hindi ko na talaga matiis. Alam mo naman na sanay ako sa maiksing gupit. Nung ginugupitan ako, may nadinig ako yung isang customer inalok nung shop ng facial.
Ah,
Napatingin ako kasi sabi ko, anong facial pinagsasabi nitong mga to? Hindi ba bawal yung mga facial ngayon? Yung
ah,
pala
Pwede na.
30%.
Oo. Puwede na
Pwede
po
na.
sila, oo. Puwede na po yung mga services na 'yan. Mga
Mhm.
parang by part lang, foot spa, face o kaya arms, shoulder,
Mhm.
ganyan. Puwede po yung
Okay.
mga 'yan.
Papaano yung mga yung mga solo flight? Yung mga 'di ba kasi maraming manikurista, mga masahista na are not affiliated with any shop,
Oo.
but they go house to house. Paano yung mga ganon? Yung
Yan
mga...
naman po ay napapayagan na po yan dahil sa totoo lang, kung tayo ay mga nasa bahay, tayo na rin po yung gatekeeper sa ating bahay. So kung meron man po tayong mga pinapapasok o inaalaw na magbigay ng serbisyo na yan sa atin, tayo na po yung magbigay nung mag-practice nung paano yung pag-iingat natin. So ito po yung pinakamahalaga sa lahat talaga ngayon, yung for the citizen to really practice yung mga health protocol natin. Nabanggit nga po ni Yusek Epi kanina na ito po yung pinakamalaking bagay na nangyari for the last 2 weeks. Ito pong mga citizen natin, medyo maganda na po yung paraan natin. Natututo na tayong mabuhay kasama itong COVID. Ano?
Okay. Ulitin ko na lang in closing, Yusek Boy, no? Yung request ko rin kay Yusek Densing kanina, yung tungkol dun sa mga restaurant at mga malls na dapat siguro may mga health angels or health marshal. Kasi napansin ko yun may mga restaurant talaga tapat-tapat. Kumbaga tayo dito on screen, magkatabi tayo, hindi tayo magkatapat. Marami ako napuntahan na para bang taken for granted na kasi hindi kasi pinaglayo naman namin pero pinaglayo mo nga magkatapat naman pag kumain nagtanggal ng mask disgrasya na. In any case, thank you very much. It's really a week of hope for all of us and I know, alam ko po na si Secretary Mon Lopez ang isa sa mga talagang he continually pushed for the opening of the economy because jobs were at risk. And I know that the DTI was behind all of this. So congratulations sa inyo sa DTI. And we want to honor you, honor Secretary Lopez for not giving up hope. And eto, nagkakatotoo na kahit papano. Thank you, Yusek Boy.
Sito, madagdag ko lang tungkol sa
Yes.
issue na yan, yung mga health angels. Dito
Oo.
po sa health protocol, workplace health protocol ng Department of Trade and Industry at saka ng Department of Labor and Employment, meron pong provision for safety and health officer. So sila po yung tasked to remind the clients and even co-employees to wear face masks, to practice physical distancing. So meron pong ganyan. And DTI and DOLE, together with LGU, nagkukondak po kami ng inspection to ensure that these healthy and safety officer are doing their jobs.
Okay, siguro pakiusapan na rin natin yung PNP. Para total, wala na sila sa checkpoint. Para punta sila sa restaurant, baka mailibre pa namin, di ba? Okay, thank you, Yusek Boy.
Wala pong anuman at magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Okay, yan po si Undersecretary Ireneo Boy Vizmonte, who is regular on agenda. And there you go. Good news again, first from DILG, now from the Department of Trade and Industry. The malls will be opening more. The promos, the events are being allowed. So just check with your local mall operator or your favorite go-to mall or mga restaurants din, And please, I will not grow tired of this. Let's all remind each other, wear your mask, wear your face shield, and most importantly, social distance. Kasi iba sa inyo, may mask nga, may face shield, dikit-dikit naman po, no? Malaking bagay po ito. And here's the thing. If we manage to keep up our guard, to follow the protocols, then the gates open up wider for many people. But if we take this for granted, hindi natin pinagsasabihan, and kahit lolo kayo, nanay, tatay, kuya, ate, bunso, you have the right. As I told my daughter, I just want to share this before we go to the break. Kasi marami sa atin parang nahihiya. We're embarrassed to tell people, do you mind if we socially distance? And I told my daughter, Hannah, if people make a joke of it, hey, you're so paranoid, tell them, I am not protecting my reputation, I am protecting my life. I want to survive COVID-19. So don't hesitate, don't ever be embarrassed to tell people, I love you, but can we socially distance? Please wear your mask, please put on your shield. Because at the end of the day, this is an act of love and kindness for others when we are holding each other accountable. Okay, we'll go for a quick break, and when we return, we will talk to our third and final guest here on Agenda. Okay. You're back here on Agenda. Thank you for staying with us. And you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as on facebook.com/OneNewsPH or YouTube, One News PH. Okay, kung wala pa po kayong subscription ng Signal TV, ay kumuha na. Kasi katulad ko, my favorite channel there is the HGTV, because I have always been a builder, renovator, restorer, etc. And I just love repairing things. And that is what's keeping me so busy during COVID-19 pandemic and during the quarantine. The question is, many of you are probably wondering, what's my future like? Do I still have a career, etc.? I received an email from someone who was talking about a book, your Futureproof Your Career and Company. And when I checked the reviews, the write-ups, the book was basically talking about future-proofing your career and your company. This was before the COVID-19 pandemic. and the concerns was artificial intelligence, gig economy, yung mga high-tech digital thingamajiggies, okay? But I wonder what would be the response of the author if we now put in context the things he was teaching versus the reality of today. And by God's grace, we have with us Maulik Parekh, an entrepreneur, angel investor, keynote speaker, and author of Futureproof Your Career and Company. He is Singapore-based, but fortunately, he's in the Philippines today. Maulik, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Cito. Nice to be with you. And by the way, there's one thing we have in common. I'm a big fan of HD TV as well. I've spent hours and hours watching it. So nice to have something in common with you.
Okay, well, I do hope that in better times we can sit, have coffee, and talk about all of those projects. In any case, when someone pitched your book to me, I found it very interesting because I said, how would Maulik respond to future-proofing careers that are no longer existent? It's like COVID-19 wiped everything out and we have to start from scratch. But you're a veteran businessman, investor. Does your book, what you wrote in the book, still apply to today? Are there points there that we can still use?
Oh, no, absolutely. Actually, one of the reasons, Cito, I wrote this book, and a lot of it was written during this COVID-19 crisis, is because I felt that everybody is so focused on COVID-19 that as a businessman, as a businesswoman, we are taking our eyes off of some of the long-term trends that are underlying this COVID-19 crisis that we should be paying attention to. I believe that COVID-19 will one day fade away, hopefully soon. But the three forces that I talk about in the book are not going away anywhere. In fact, they're actually gaining speed, they're gaining strength, they're gaining momentum. And over the next 10 years, when we'll be looking at 2020, from 2030, COVID-19 will be a distant memory for us. But these forces would be an important part of our lives. And I think it's important for people to understand how these forces will play a very important role in their professional career going forward.
Yeah, because God willing, the vaccine will be with us in about a year or 2 years, but we will still have to deal with artificial intelligence, digitalizing our businesses and our economy. And I think the biggest learning for COVID-19 is the people who were not online were the businesses that suffered the most. So in your book, you've written a lot of stuff about this. What are the key points that you would like to share with our viewers? Because we don't have a lot of time, but I'd like to give you the opportunity, Maulik.
Sure. So I think very quickly, the reason why we should pay attention to these three forces is very important. Number one, AI. By 2030, according to a McKinsey study, some 375 million jobs are at risk of being displaced by AI and automation. As far as digital natives are concerned, by 2030, 2/3 of the workforce will be made up of millennials and Gen Zers. We are used to Cito looking at these people as the interns or the entry-level employees. But by 2030, they will be sitting in the C-suites. They will be the decision makers. They will be the influencers and power brokers, and not only just the business, but also in politics. So we need to understand them. And the third thing I figured out was that the gig economy is becoming extremely popular. By 2030, 50% of the US workforce is expected to be part of the freelancing economy. And that number and that growth is going to be even significantly higher for countries like the Philippines and India. And think about it, Cito. Philippine economy, the OFW remittances are a very important part of Filipino economy here. Imagine people don't have to now go to US or go to other parts of the world to earn an income and send it back to their families here. They can actually live with their family. They can be part of their culture, part of this country, and still contribute to their families and their siblings and their communities around the world.
Yeah. So how do Filipinos set things up, or the Philippine government for that matter, set things up so that we are competitive? Because I know you moved to Singapore. Singapore 25 years ago decided we're going to have high quality education, so we have high quality graduates who can get high quality jobs. You're now saying that we need to have a system that adapts to the reality of artificial intelligence, the gig economy, etc.
So I think a lot of the groundwork in the Philippines is already done. I was part of the BPO industry until very recently. I was running one of the leading BPO companies here in the Philippines. And I noticed that the government has done an amazing job over the last 20 years getting that industry up and running. Now there are almost 1.3 million people working in that industry. And if you look at how that industry is doing, it's still growing at 5-6% a year, which is a pretty significant growth for an industry of that size of almost 1.3 million people. So I think a lot of the groundwork that is needed to prepare the Philippines for the freelancing economy is already done. Most important thing is for people to understand what are some of the skills that would be needed to excel when
Okay.
the AI is going to start taking over some of the jobs that we are doing today.
Yeah, and what would those be, Maulik? Because from what I know, 30, 40 years ago or 50 years ago, somebody created an answering machine, not realizing that when he or she created that answering machine, he created a poison pill, so to speak. It's going to take away jobs in the future.
No, so I talk about 5 things people can do to improve their chances for career growth over the next 10 years. Number one, the future is AI. That train has left the station, Cito, so it's not coming back. So we need to adapt to that. And the best way to adapt to that is to become the kind of human that AI cannot replicate. AI can replicate your job if you are doing something that is boring, that is repetitive, and if it has rules that AI can follow. So if you are, for example, in a call center industry and just answering basic customer query, if you are working in a restaurant flipping burgers, if you are working in a hotel checking in guests, all of those things could be done by AI one day. But if you're doing something that requires creativity, if you're doing something that requires empathy, EQ, malasakit, as you say in the Philippines, then AI doesn't know what that is. For AI, malasakit is actually a word that is an enigma. And it's important for us to cultivate more of that in our day-to-day life, in our professional career.
Yeah, you have to forgive me, Maulik, if I'm smiling while you were talking, because when you said that AI does not have malasakit, yeah, you don't have to tell me that, because every time I use Waze or something like that, I realize how indifferent those artificial intelligence can be. It's like they don't care what you feel. They basically say you either turn left or you push the button. I don't particularly care. But okay, so you need to have empathy. You need to have creativity. I suppose there are certain jobs that needs a physical presence still, construction, like, HGTV, you and I watch it. So there are a lot of jobs there. I tell people, we put down the construction job, the job of the farmers, etc. But there will come a day when you can't find construction people, and that's already happened in the Philippines. We have a shortage of construction workers. Now we're about to have a shortage of farmers, because they're just basically saying, I'm done, I quit, because you people aren't paying me enough to feed you.
No, absolutely. I mean, you make an excellent point, and I cover that in the book, that while the future is AI, future is also people, because for the next 10 years at least, the people are not going anywhere. They're going to be an important part of business success. So if you want to become better at what you're doing, if you want to grow your career, then you need to figure out how to become an alchemist, alchemist who takes ordinary people and turns them into doing extraordinary things. So if you can do that by becoming an inspiring leader, then AI would not be able to replicate that, and you are in a better place to grow your career going forward.
Okay, now in terms of setting up a business, Maulik, a lot of the young people are asking that question. And what is the future as far as your book is concerned, and as far as COVID-19 is concerned? You said, okay, COVID-19 maybe 10 years the most, but that's all going to be gone. What's the future in terms of setting up businesses? Because the reality, and you evidently love the Philippines. You spend a lot of time here, but here's the thing: most businesses I see popping up all over the place are food related. And I'm wondering, is this sustainable when everything is said and done? What sort of businesses should the millennials get into?
That's an important point. By the way, that's one thing Filipinos and Indians have in common. We love our food. So the same thing I see in India as well when I go back to my home country. But instead of looking at what business to get into, I think what I cover in the book is a list of 5 things each business should do to become future-proof. So one of the things that I talk about in the book is that the future is digital. So the businesses will have to transform. And I give an example from the food industry, actually, that if you go to Domino's Pizza, for example, in the US, just 12 years ago, Cito, they only gave you 2 choices to order the pizza. Either you walk into their store or you call and get a delivery. Today, they have gone through massive digital transformation, and you can order Domino's Pizza 15 different ways, including a way where you don't even have to click anything. There is a 0-click option to order your pizza for Domino's. So because of that, Domino's is now roughly 51% of the online market share in the US. So when you are going into any industry, the most important question you have to ask is, are you digitally transforming yourself? Are you utilizing all the technology that is available to improve your customer experience, to improve your employee experience? Are you solving problems? Are you creating value?
Okay, Maulik, I know I don't want to put you in the spot, okay, but you're an analyst. You understand business practices, etc. And me, I'm a in-your-face kind of person. I'm a tough love sort of guy. What are the things that we are doing wrong in business in the Philippines? I mean, I'm sorry, we need to call it, because one thing I personally observed when we shifted into this work from home situation, many of my friends were holding back. They were relying on their phone. They wouldn't buy cameras. They wouldn't buy lights, etc. And I'm going, guys, you have no choice. It's going to be digital. You have to invest in the technology. What other practices or what other things are we doing wrong in the Philippines?
That's an excellent point, and I'm going to just tweak it a little bit, answering that, because I went through that experience firsthand when I was running one of the largest BPO companies here in the Philippines. And what I noticed, not only in my company, but also across the industry, is that we were taking Filipino people, we were putting them through training, and we were turning them into robots. By telling them, okay, this is the script that you need to follow. These are the rules and regulations that you need to follow when you're talking to the customers from around the world. And I felt that while the rest of the world is spending so much energy and effort and money in making robots or the chatbots or the Siri or the Alexa more human, we are taking the humans here in the Philippines who come with so much empathy, so much malasakit, so much passion for what they want to do and how they want to help people. I think that's one thing we need to really change here. I think one of the things that we tried to do in my company over the last 3 years especially was putting more emphasis in allowing people to become more human. Because at the end of the day, when technology takes a bigger role in our life, eventually when we talk to somebody over the phone with a person with a heart, person with some emotions, that's when we feel the best. And if we can create those moments of truths for customers who are calling in, and making their life easier, that's one of the things that I think we need to focus on, to let humans be humans again.
Okay, what else?
I think the other thing we have to do is to keep up with what's happening in the technological world. Innovation is an important part of the book that I mentioned here. A lot of the companies are failing at innovation, Cito, because they think innovation is taking your C-suite or the executives to Silicon Valley and spending a week there and think that if they breathe that innovation in Silicon Valley, they're going to transform themselves. That doesn't happen. They think that if they create a very small innovation lab in their company, while the rest of the company remains very bureaucratic, that's not going to happen. They think that if they just go and buy a small startup and acquire them, but not change anything in their parent company, the old ways of working, then that's not going to happen. So for innovation to take place and for you to be successful in innovation, you actually have to really define what innovation means for your company. You have to strategize about what kind of innovation you are going after. Are you going after incremental innovation for your company? Are you going after adjacent innovation? Or are you going after revolutionary innovation like what Apple did when they introduced iPhone?
Yeah, okay, because innovation is a tricky word, Maulik, okay? Everyone has an interpretation of innovation. Some people will say innovation is a physical thing. Some will say it's an attitudinal thing or a conceptual thing. Where would you guide or lead our viewers as far as innovation in the Philippines is concerned? Because I know that's why I asked I have to call you a foreigner, although you're probably half Filipino already. But because an outsider sees things we are blind to. Many Filipinos will tell you, "Oh, we can't change that. That's the way we've always done it. That's how my father does the business, and that's how I'm going to do it, etc." But where would you guide us to identify what areas need innovation?
Sure. So you make an excellent point, and I have a whole page dedicated to that because when I was doing research for this book, I realized when you Google innovation definition, there are 100 different definitions or more. So first and foremost, you have to actually define what innovation means. And one of the definitions that I like the most, and it's very simple, and it says innovation is executing new ideas to create value. So the most important thing about that sentence is creating value. Just because you like a new technology and you acquire it and put it in your system, that doesn't make you innovative. In order for you to become innovative, you have to create value for your customers, for your employees, for your stakeholders. If that's not happening, then you're not following the innovation.
So don't just put on accessories. I mean, I'm a car guy as well, and many people just love to put accessories. They'll put on mag wheels, they'll put on tint, but they don't see the value that goes into putting those accessories on, whether not just looks, but fuel efficiency, road safety, etc. So if you're going to put something into your organization, it shouldn't be a mere accessory. It should enhance or improve the outcome of the organization.
That's absolutely right. I write in the book that you have to begin with end in mind, as Stephen Covey would say in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The end here is what is the value you are trying to create for your stakeholders. Once you have established what that value is, then you can work backwards and figure out what technology, what process changes you would need to create that value.
Okay, what would you say to a guy like me, Maulik? I'm a terrorist of sorts when it comes to the corporate setup. It's like if you can't think big enough or you can't think wide enough, I'll fire you. That has been my mantra through in the past. It's like if you're not on board, jump out. Is that a solution, or should we look for innovative people, or should we look inside?
No, One of the things that I mentioned in the book, Cito, is how important it is for companies to go out and hire what I call catalysts or mavericks. When Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, was asked, "What do you look for when you are either recruiting people or promoting people?" And he said, even though these people are pain in the neck, I look for people who are a bit different. I look for people who are going to push the limits. I look for people who are going to make you uncomfortable because they're always pushing limits, not only of themselves, for people around them. The reason why he's doing that, because he realizes that in order for a company to succeed going forward, they would need to improve themselves at a micro level, at each employee level. So if each employee is becoming a catalyst for change, for a better change, then at a macro level, company is also going to do amazing things.
Okay, I think you were referring to me when you said pain in the neck, because I've had quite a number of clients who call me, Cito, you are a pain in the neck and in the behind. But, I don't care. I really don't care, because I feel that, if I walk into a situation, you got to change it. And that's what you were pointing out, that you need people to bring a different perspective to your already stayed or stabilized organization, because stability is not always profitability, correct?
Absolutely. In fact, the way I end the book, it says that you have a choice as a business now. Either you choose growth or stability. And the stability has a new synonym in this day and age, especially in the digital age. Stability means extinction. If you remain stable, one day you will not be there anymore. So you have to constantly grow. You have to kind of push your limits, and you have to surround yourself with employees who are also cultivating those muscles to become the catalyst for change. They're saying no more to mediocrity. They are saying no more to those things that don't make any sense. If you have employees who are just keep repeating, I have gone through many different companies, and I have run into people who would say, well, no, that's not how we do it here, or we have never done it this way. And it drives me crazy when people say that, because if we don't question our own processes, if we don't take a step back and say, the existing processes, would they make us successful going forward, then I think it's going to be very difficult for companies to continue growing.
A lot of CEOs have read your book. Even our chairman, Manny Pangilinan, has had good words to say about the book. But here's my thing. How does a boss or a chairman or a CEO differentiate between someone who is innovative, someone who is future-proofing the organization, the business model, versus someone who is just bottom lines?
Well, I think one of the things you have to look for is that person open to change? Is this person coming up with new ideas? Are you getting emails or text messages or Viber messages from this person saying, hey, boss, have you thought about doing this? How about we try this? Because I think the companies need to have people who are going to fail, but fail fast and learn from it, and then become a better person, but also make the company better.
Well, someone who espouses what you wrote in the book about future-proofing, about innovation, experience has taught me that you will burn bridges, you will pay the price. I'd like it to come from you. What is the benefit? What is the reward for following the path that Maulik is writing in his book?
Yes, and I have done enough of that in my own career, Cito. I think that's one of the things probably we both have in common, in addition to HGTV. We both have pushed limits, and I think people in my career have perhaps seen me as someone who is the pain in the neck. But you give them some time, and when they look back, they have better things to say about you, because they realize, looking back with Vision 2020, that what you were saying 5 years, 10 years ago made sense now. And I think for the catalysts, they should not worry too much about people who are naysayers, people who are always questioning, people who are skeptics. I think they should follow their guts. they should surround themselves with people who are equally passionate about moving the needle in the right direction.
Okay, do you patiently do that in an organization, or to just say, okay, that's it, you guys aren't going to follow this idea, or you guys, because there, you and me, we pitch, we suggest, we recommend, but there comes a point when you need to decide, do I stay with these jokers? It's hard to be an eagle, soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys. Or do I just move on to another organization?
I think as a leader, you have to communicate. Your responsibility of communicating your vision is on the leader. You have to do your most important job of letting people know why you are doing something. If people understand the why of what you're doing, then they would follow you and fall in line in what and how and everything else. So the most important thing leaders have to do is to explain to the people why you are doing something. And then after you've done your best, if there are some people who are still not getting on the bandwagon, then you have to make some tough decisions.
How does a leader figure out? Because here, and you've been around here long enough to know, there are many corporations in the Philippines, and I've worked with many of them, where the leader is a visionary, but then you have a ladder full of, suck-ups, people who just basically want to protect their territory, and make sure that the boss sees them, but not anybody under them.
Mm-hmm. Well, if the leader is successful, then the leader would look through and see through the suck-ups. And leader, if that person is visionary, then would realize that by having suck-ups around you, yeah, your ego will feel good, your pride will feel good, but it's not good for the business. Eventually, there is going to be a startup, there is going to be someone out there in the market who is going to disrupt your business model and put you out of the business. They would put you into extinction. So it's very important, Cito, you make a good point, that you have to really surround yourself with people who are going to question you. All my life, I have surround myself with people who have come into my office and said, Maulik, I don't agree with this. Now, they did it professionally, and I had to explain why I was doing it. But there are times when I had to agree with what they were saying, and I changed the course of action because of their feedback.
Oh, interesting, because I just read up on that this morning, and that was the review of a good leader. A man or a woman who can actually say, you know what, you're right and I'm wrong, and that's a sign of a good leader. And that's why I asked that question, because that's the first step in future-proofing your career and your companies, is be able to be a good leader. Well, Maulik, thank you very much. I wish I had more time with you, but maybe in the future we can discuss these topics more, especially when you're in town. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Cito, for having me.
Okay, that's Mr. Maulik Parekh. His book is Futureproof Your Career and Company, and we've run out of time, and the time is so short when you're having a good time. I hope you had a good time watching Agenda. Please join us tomorrow. God bless all of you, and give the people around you, the pat in the back, the kiss, the recognition, and always be an encourager. Thank you. God bless all of you.